Welcome. Welcome to Wilder Shores, Testing the Waters. In this teleseminar, we will explore what makes relationships successful, address your burning questions, offer some delicious discounts to an upcoming event on April 26th. And as a participant on this call, you will receive a free 30-minute coaching session from either Davidson or Francesca Gentille, plus, and wait, there's more, Dawn's Kissable Agreements Workbook, which I personally completely love. And to get us started, I'd like to take a moment to introduce Dawn, who I also really love. And Dawn is, aside from my best and most long-term friend, person that I met because she was the other woman in a threesome, so many ways that we've been related to each other, is also an internationally known expert on polyamory and other kinds of outside-the-box relationship styles. I'm really impressed with the fact that she's appeared on Montel, Tyra Banks, and the Huffington Post Live on the topic of polyamory. She is the author of that new book you're going to be getting, The Kissable Agreements and Other Secrets to Negotiating Polyamorous Relationships. She is a former board member of the Loving More nonprofit organization and a really popular presenter on non-monogamous relationships at so many conferences around the United States, including Poly Living, Loving More, KinkFest, OpenSF. And she is also a very skilled coach and fabulous best friend and counselor, offering sessions to individuals, pairs, and small family groupings in person in the SF Bay area and by phone and Skype worldwide. I'm really delighted to be teaching this with Dawn. Yay, welcome, Dawn. And let me make sure that Dawn is, in fact, unmuted. And let me see, is Dawn's number? This is Dawn's number.
Aha, there we are.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So, hello, everybody. I am so glad to hear all of you wonderful people on the call, although we can't hear you right now. I want to take a moment to introduce Francesca, my co-host this evening. Francesca, as she mentioned, we are long-term friends. We have been in all sorts of relationships with one another, everything from friendships to the other woman to teachers and students variously, lots of things over the years. And Francesca is a fabulous person. I'm so glad to be sharing the stage with her right now. She is an internationally recognized relationship counselor and sacred intimacy educator. She guides sessions for individuals, couples, and moresomes here in the SF Bay area and also internationally by phone or Skype. Also is a top-rated presenter at Loving More conferences on both the East Coast. And she is the co-author of the best-selling The Marriage of Sex Spirit, which has fabulous collection of essays and chapters from all sorts of luminaries around the world. In addition to that, she's the director of the Sacred Courtesan School and the host of the long-running and juicy internet radio show Sex, Tantra, and So thank you, Francesca, for being with me today. And everybody, I really look forward to sharing this time with you and with her. I do want to remind everyone that we are recording this. So in the somewhat unlikely event that anyone chooses to speak on the recording, it does mean that you're giving permission for your voice to be recorded and possibly distributed. And that said, as we have mentioned before, we will be conducting the discussion part of the call via the chat function. So if you can be at your computer, please make sure that you both click on the link to my dashboard for the call and place the call by phone, Skype, or some other method. So that way you can both see the chat dashboard and also be able to hear on the call. And if you need to communicate with us, it is possible to raise or lower your hand by pressing *2. and to mute or unmute your line in the event that you end up unmuted and then we hear a lot of noise. We might ask you to line, and that would be pressing *6. So again, mostly this is going to be the two of us speaking on the recording. We don't anticipate having other people speaking live, but we will invite your questions later. So Francesca, could you please give us a little overview of what's going on?
I wanted to give you a brief overview of not only this call, but also the more intensive event that we'll be having on April 26th. In this call, we'll be doing a little bit of grounding, a little bit of, looking at what makes relationships success, some brainstorming, and more. And in the April 26th afternoon class, we'll be going deeper into your personal needs and concerns with even more in-depth exercises, handouts, and takeaways, plus a connection salon and tea where you get to meet and mingle and schmooze and nosh from 5 to 6. There'll be a special link at the end of the class for discounts for the full day for those of you who are in the area and would like to make it. Without going any deeper into that, I want to bring you into this time, this very precious time that we have together, by inviting us to breathe, relaxing the jaw, relaxing the belly, feeling our body and our feet connected to the earth. And as we breathe those nice, long, deep breaths, I invite us to lengthen the breath with a pause at the end of the inhalation and a pause again at the end of the exhalation. Nice, long, deep breaths. And as we breathe and land in this time that we have together, in this time that will never come again, not this way, I invite us to tune into or become aware of why we're here, what we want to learn, what we are seeking, and what would have this time be a success. One more nice deep breath into our hearts, down our bodies, into the earth. And we are here, and we are together, and we are in a journey of relationship right now. When we look at relationships, and I just had us look in our visualization around what would have our time together right now be a success, we often come to relationships with that idea of, is this a success? Is this a successful relationship? Is it working for me? Is it working for you? And what we don't always know is that idea of what makes this a success can be very affected by, or even limited by, our culture, our environment, the way that we're raised, the movies, the books, the TV that we constantly hear. And when we think of that sense of what is a successful relationship, for many, many people in our culture, it's sustainability, and often with one person. My relationship is a success if I've stayed with the same person my whole life. And this idea of that there's one way of having success, can kind of not only get us around the throat or the genitals, but can be can really sneak in to our subconscious. So even those of us who are rebels and we already think of ourselves as different or unique, or we're not following the same way as everybody else, can already have something in our mindset that is actually limiting our own standard of success. Dawn, would you like to say a little bit more about that and lead into an exercise for us?
Yeah, this is one of the things that I have found in my own journey in life has been really important for me to make this shift in a paradigm in the way that I'm thinking about relationships. Because if what we have is the idea that relationships can only be successful if they continue forever, then that means that almost every relationship of our life is a failure. And I really don't agree with that. You know, I think that there are a lot of ways that we can have relationship success when it may or may not look like a success to anyone else. And it's really important to keep in mind, especially if we're going to move into the wilder shores of love, into the love outside the box realm, into different ways of relating, it's important to keep in mind that these might not be the societal models of success, just might not be really useful to us. So I'm curious to know if other people have ideas about different ways that you might conceive of your relationships as being successful. Rather than just longevity. So if you would, now's the time for you to go ahead and chat to us if you have ideas about what success might be other than just longevity. And I will say there are a couple of them that, the standard paradigm model says that we have indicators of success such as longevity and faithfulness or exclusivity. And I'm going to invite us to consider that one of my favorite indicators of success is personal growth. Did we learn something in the course of this relationship? And I see that others are putting in great sex, learning something new, perhaps healing something, contributing to another human being. These are all great potential indicators of success. One of my favorites is happiness. Am I actually happy in this relationship? I think that there's a common idea in standard models in this idea that we're going to continue forever and ever till death do us part. Many people sacrifice their own and their partner's happiness in the course of trying to do that. And it makes sense, especially if you're in a context, for instance, it might be, not exclusively, but it might be something like being monogamously married within the context of a church, a religious contract. And in that case, you might both want longevity and to please God, that this is very important in your worldview. And as a result, you may choose to prioritize longevity and pleasing God above your personal happiness. And this is not a right or a wrong. It's just a different way of looking at what are indicators of relationship success. So I'm seeing here success might be having help with raising children. And Mia comments, community-based free love that serves the needs of the group. I like that idea. Yes, that we're not owning each other's sexuality, but a successful relationship might be one that is really, a great sharing amongst the community and the network. There are also expanding community. Fish mentions coming to agreements that both or all parties involved feel happy about. I agree that can make for a successful relationship as well as be an indicator of success. That if you can't come to an agreement, there might be some question about whether or not this is a successful relationship, and maybe it might be time to look at something new. Another thing might be creating sweet memories over time. When you look back over your life, do you have lots of sweet memories? Do you have friends of various types?
These are all possible success measures. I like the idea of a relationship being a success if it has flexibility and resilience. Are you able to meet the challenges of life resiliently? Are you able to have things come up and work through them and continue on as partners with one another or in relationship with one another? So all of these things are great measures of success. And I'm not, one last look here. Is there any last burning comments, people? Yes, there's some more. Adventure and caregiving, having people feel cared for. Yes, and also having people that are available to care for you or you to care for others. That ability to see one another in the hospital or to, who's on your call list for when you get sick or injured or when your kids get sick or injured. And there's someone here, combining resources, allowing room for outsourcing, lovers or ex-lovers who are the continuum of the relationship. I agree. I love that. I think that's a great indication of success. Fish says open and honest communication. If you can be open and honest about what's going on in your relationship and feel free to share with your partner, that's an indicator of success. And I absolutely agree with that. That's a really important thing for me. So all of these are different ways that we might consider that our relationship is a success. And, I think that it's just important to recognize what are the particular indicators of success that are most important to us. What are the most important things for our partners, and what are the most important things for us? And these might not be the same from relationship to relationship. That's another important idea, because each relationship is separate, is its own thing. And that's one of the things that makes multiple relationships somewhat challenging, is that they are, in some ways, one can view them as a collection of dyadic relationships. That's relationships between any two people. So there are a lot of relationships within a multiple relationship. And that can complexify things because it's important to keep checking in to find out if the relationship is a success for each person according to their own ideas of success. But it absolutely can be done. So now I think that's about all I had on that. Let's see, we have another comment from Francesca here about eco-sustainability. Even if the form changes, the relatedness, the relationship continues. And Mia comments similarly that with either sexual or non-sexual relationships, there is still love. That this is one of the things that can allow a relationship to continue to be a success over time. As something of a personal example on this score, I am still in a relationship with the man I like to call my almost ex-husband because we haven't been living together for over 5 years at this point, but we still take care of each other financially. We still co-own a house. We still co-parent our child. And these are things that are very important to us. They are the indicators of the success of our current relationship, and the fact that we spent almost 20 years with one another learning and growing. In fact, we did spend 20 years learning and growing with each other. We learned so much. I'm here today because of what I learned from my almost ex-husband in those 20 years. So that certainly makes a relationship a success, in my opinion, that there is something we've learned and grown and talked about for a long time, and that we can continue to relate with one another. I think another good success measure is, can you show up at family functions and speak nicely to one another? So, Francesca, I think I'm about done with that, and I see that you would like to share some more, so please take it away.
Thank you.
Please note that my computer just went dark, so I may or may not be able to see what's going on for a while.
Oh, no.
Yes.
And one of the things that Dawn brings up so beautifully is she helps us look at these many different ways that relationships could be a success. But how does that help us? There's a couple ways. One is this list that we're coming up with is something that we could actually share with a partner. We could sit down at the beginning, the middle, anywhere in the term of our relationship, and actually ask, what makes a relationship successful for you? I personally have made the mistake. I make many of them, but I try to learn from them. I personally have made the mistake of assuming that someone else's measures for success were the same as mine. So I would be in the relationship. I would think it was being successful. We're growing together. We're expanding our community. And maybe they had a very different measure of success than I did. And the relationship can very much break down if we don't understand our differences and create bridges towards them. So one way to have a discussion about this. And another way is to also spend some time with ourselves. This is very quick off the top of our heads. What's your measure of success? But you may want to spend a little bit more time really sitting down with it and asking yourself, can I expand my measure of success? The broader my measures of success, the more likely I'll have a successful relationship. And the more narrow my measure of success, statistically speaking, it's more likely that I'll have fewer successful relationships. So we can use it for ourselves personally, and we can also use it to share and build bridges of understanding with another. One of the things that this was something we wanted to give to you and was very alive for us. But we also wanted to find out what was up, what was alive for you. And what are some of your burning issues when you think about creating a relationship, maybe one relationship, when you think about creating more than one relationship? What are your issues? And this would also be your opportunity to go to that wonderful little chat box again and to chat some of your issues. For those who do not have the ability to be on chat function, we're going to send out a follow-up email. It would actually be great. I'm going to put our emails on here. This will be, I guess we'll be putting them on Facebook to make sure that you have our emails so that you can email us and then we can email you. Actually, it's on the agenda. Thank you, Dawn, for pointing that out, that our emails are on the agenda. You can email us later and we can collect from you your top hot relationship issues. But please, those who are on chat right now, what are some of your, vibrant relationship issues, concerns, questions? What is alive for you, as they like to say in nonviolent communication? And also for our phone people, I could also tell you that our emails are love. Oops, just a second. Dawn just moved that slightly. Love.
No, not me.
Oh, somebody.
Somebody, not me. I can't see anything. loveotb@gmail.com and relationshipdiva@gmail.com. So love, OTB as in boy, @gmail.com and relationshipdiva@gmail.com. But for those who are on now, anybody? Some burning, we're going to assume you have no vibrant questions or relationship concerns. Francesca, I had added some things that people might have questions about on our agenda page.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was going to go to that to maybe kind of stir the waters a little bit. Maybe you'll recognize yourself in some of these. So when Dawn and I have looked at this, some of our issues that you may resonate with are time management. You know, we say the body is willing and the spirit is willing, but the calendar is weak. How do we work with time management? Another issue, especially when we're looking at relationships that are outside the box or alternative, is jealousy. I would think right under jealousy are insecurity or envy. Another one can be emotional wounding or emotional triggers. Another one could be outside judgments, feeling misunderstood by the the world at large, the mundane community, the general public. So have what needs are met in this relationship, and why is this relationship lacking in satisfaction? So really trying to figure out, what is the problem in a way, and also what is working. Great
curious
Neil. Thank you.
If we have anyone who would like to talk but would prefer to do it by actually talking rather than typing. And Francesca, I'll let you see if anybody raises their hand or puts something in the chat window there. Because I'm here but not well at the moment. I'm on my iPad. Technology. It makes our lives so much easier. That, by the way, would be one of those issues that can sometimes be a challenge in outside-the-box relationship, is, connectivity and technology is really, really helpful, except when it's really, really not.
Exactly. And Fish has something to say. Fish was saying having a primary partner in an open poly relationship that fears me dating others and being abandoned or left out, or even having her say that it's okay to see others and supports it, it has me feeling unsafe to truly try pursuing anyone else. Yes, I think that's a flavor, definitely a particular flavor that could be around jealousy, or could be around emotional triggers or emotional wounding, or could be around trust. I know for myself that it can hit various ones of that. So let's look here and maybe go a little deeper. What do you think, Dawn? Shall we go a little deeper into a couple of these?
Sure. We can do that if you'd like. The other thing we were going to talk about was just talk about more, and now might be a good time, about what the afternoon workshop is going to look like. To give people an idea. They may not know the questions to ask yet.
Great. Do you want to go a little deeper into that, just so that they have an idea of what they're getting, what they might be getting into, and what they might want to ask questions about?
So what we're planning to do on our afternoon, which is just about 2 weeks from now, I guess, we're planning to do some really juicy exercises. We have some worksheets that we'll have you guys look at, and we'll have a chance for people to discuss with each other and to go in greater depth about these questions. And it will be designed around the needs of the people that show up at the time. So we will have a little section at the beginning where we're going to ask you guys, what do you want to see? What would make this day a real success for you? And then we will make sure that we try to cover all those important burning questions at the time. And then as the day progresses, we will eventually wrap up from doing our exercises and our discussions and our explorations of what kinds of relationships one might have and what ways one might support these relationships, what tools we might use to support our outside-the-box relationships. And then after that, we will adjourn for a lovely connection salon and tea, as Francesca mentioned earlier. And we're really looking forward to that. It's just a chance to hang out together. We'll supply some tea goodies of various sorts. Francesca happens to be gluten intolerant, so most of those tea goodies are going to be gluten-free, but they might also be yummy vegetables or whatever. And we invite you to bring anything along that you would like to eat and share with everybody, or particular kinds of tea that you'd like to share, and just have a chance to talk with us in a more relaxed fashion, and also talk with your classmates and have a chance just to hang out and get to know one another a little bit. And that's the general format of the class. It'll be taking place at Francesca's home and temple and workshop space, which is a beautiful location in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area. There are no cats there, and there are, there's a couple of short stairs. It's not terribly far from the BART. It would be close to the El Cerrito del Norte BART station. And I'm really looking forward to having a chance to just hang out with Francesca. And I would love to have lots more people come join us that day.
I would too. And I'm hoping to see lots of you, but I also want to be sure that everyone on the call gets a lot of value here and now, because getting back to that, our schedule is weak. I really want to appreciate each of you on this call, and really appreciate you for being kind of more unusual in our culture. You are the kind of people who want to learn, who want to grow, who want to have your relationships be successful and harmonious and easeful. And I just really want to take a moment to have us all breathe in the preciousness, how very special and precious each person on this call really is. And they say that our lives are formed by the questions we ask. If I say I want to have more sex, I could probably get more sex. If I want to say I want more great sex, now I'm going to be looking at other things and asking other questions and reading other books. If I say I want to have divine sex, or I want to have the kind of sex that's healing for myself and others, I'm going to be looking at other things. I'm going to be reading other things. I'm going to be going to different workshops. And I really want to say that the people on this call are the kind of people who ask, how can I have great relationships? How can I have great relationships that are authentic and are a win-win for myself and those I love? So I just really want to just take a moment to celebrate you. Woohoo!
I agree.
Yay! One of the things that I wanted to get to some of the burning questions, but I also realized as I'm looking at my notes, which we will make sure for any of you that ask that you get a copy of, is I wanted to look at what we call our foundational idea number 2 in successful relationships outside the box. Foundational idea number 1 is we could get really creative about our measures of success. And the more creative we are, the more people could fit those measures, and the happier we might be. And foundational idea number 2 is kind of, they're almost related, like kind of kissing cousins, is staying out of there is only one true right and only way. There is only one true right and only way. And even if that way is already outside the box. So what can happen if you're like me, is I've given up monogamy. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not that close-minded. I'm open to more people. I'm open to loving more people. But then I get attached to the Francesca way of loving more people. And, who me? And that could be, no primary partners. No primary partners at all. Or it could be I have to have a primary partner. Or it could be if you're my primary partner, then what that means is we have to live together, or we have to spend 5 nights a week together, or I have to have veto power. And this is really up close and personal for me, because I can be someone who gets very attached that the one true, right, and only way is the Francesca way. And there is an intriguing balance. I don't want to give in. I don't want to give up. I don't want to, give up the things that maybe really are core and essential to my soul. And I don't want to just give in if I have a partner that says, oh, do it this other way. And I'm like, no, that hurts. No, okay, if that'll make you happy, then I'll just do it your way. Giving up something core and essential, or giving in to another's needs and stepping over my own, either one of those is going to blow up the relationship sooner or later. And yes. I want to invite in that there's something. Yeah, go ahead.
I like to say that the relationship needs your needs, and that the only way to get to a win-win for the relationship is for everybody to feel like they're winning. Because if anybody feels like they're losing, then the relationship is losing. And so this idea that you were bringing up about stepping over your own boundaries, I know that I do that a lot too. It's very easy to just say, I really want you to be happy, so I'm going to not do this thing that would make me happy, and then gradually over time continue to give up little parts of yourself until there's almost nothing left. Great danger.
And one of the tricky things to know about overgiving is that I choose it. That even though my partner might be asking, pleading, begging, threatening, cajoling, as an adult, I choose to give in. And when I recognize that it's still my choice, I can start to let go of resentment that can so easily start to build in relationship. And I can also look at what I call giving toward rather than giving in. Giving in, sure, fine, I'll do it your way, okay, whatever, yeah, whatever makes you happy. And giving toward is much more creative. It's when I start to remember that all of life is a blank canvas, that I'm only limited by my own creativity. And when I remember that, then I can start to brainstorm in new ways. And, you want me home 5 nights a week. I have a need for freedom. I'm guessing you have a need for safety, or maybe for connection. And if we look at our needs, like my need is for freedom and your need is for safety or connection, maybe we can get a little less attached to one way, and we can start to brainstorm, or maybe even get help brainstorming. What are some different ways to meet my need for freedom? What do I mean by freedom? How does freedom feel in my body? Maybe you might have some different ways to meet our need for, because I too have a need for connection, and I too have a need for safety. And I'm guessing you also have a need for freedom. It's just that my need for freedom is really big right now, and your need for safety or connection feels really big right now. So we get less attached, more creative, maybe even get help from counselors, friends, workshops, and suddenly how else could it work? What else is possible? Oh, I never even thought of trying it that way. I think that could work. And now even if I'm shifting, maybe I'm, end up staying in a little bit more than I had originally expected when I was thinking of being free. Or maybe you're having less of my time than you thought you needed when we were looking at connection. So in a sense, we're both giving something, but now we're giving toward. We're giving something creatively. We're giving something with a vision.
Thank you, sweetie. I want to draw your attention to Mia asked a question here. What do you think of relationships with no expectations? A really good question, and it bears directly on what you were just talking about freedom.
I'd love to hear your input on this as well, Dawn. Me personally, I find that even if I were to say no expectations, that's often a strategy for something. So if I say don't expect anything from me, Dawn, maybe it's a strategy for safety. Maybe it's I don't want to let you down. Or if I say don't expect anything from me, Dawn, maybe it's a strategy for freedom. That there's still something that when I'm asking for no expectations, it's more of a strategy for something else. And if I know what that strategy is for, that will help me if I'm the one asking for no expectations or if my partner is. And I think, too, sometimes no expectation could be a request for creativity or adventure. But, I don't actually know. I don't even know how to meet that need because no expectations, in a way, is an expectation.
Right. I agree. I think in a way it's setting an expectation of it begs to have further clarification. In my view, this comes to the point I often talk about in my work about getting clear about whether the words that you're using are mean the same thing to the person that you're talking with, because sometimes we can say the same words like sex or soon and mean completely different things. And I think no expectations could be one of those. I'm not sure. I would like to actually hear from Mia, if possible, what she means by the no expectation thing.
Could you write a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Mia, are you willing to type a little bit more?
And we could also go back.
One thing, it brings me back to a relationship that I was in with my almost ex, some years back now, 8-ish years ago, 10 years ago, when that woman also wanted to have a no expectations relationship, and the way she phrased it was she wanted to have a relationship where it was ongoingly creating that we wanted to be together right now, that we were choosing to be together in the moment over and over and over again, that there wasn't a big setup about what kind of relationship we had. We weren't defining it in any particular way. We were just choosing to continue to be in relationship. Another friend of mine calls that following your feet. You figure out where you're going by watching what direction you go.
And when I hear that sense, it's maybe a sense of, could be freedom, could be passion, wanting to stay juicy, maybe authenticity, a need for authenticity, wanting the connection to be authentic to the moment. But we can't even create no expectations successfully, as you said, Dawn, until we're clear. What does no expectations mean in your book, and what does it mean in mine? In the dictionary of Francesca, what's next to no expectations?
It brings up one of my favorite concepts that I learned a while back from this great book called Relation Dancing by Mark Michael Lewis, and he talks in that about the secret rule book for relating, that we all have this secret rule book that's made up of these concepts that we learned in by watching our parents, we learned by observing what went on around us, we learned it from the media, and we have these ideas of what is the right way to be in relationship. You know, what we were talking about earlier about the right way and the wrong way of being in relationship. And the thing is that we all assume that everybody's secret rule book is the same, except that they're secret, sometimes even from ourselves. And they're not necessarily the same. It'll depend on where they were raised, which part of the country, which part of the world, what part, whether they had two parents or one parent, or were raised in a multiple adult household, or whether they moved around a lot, or what kind of, all these different things go into the secret rule book for relating.
One of my personal favorite examples was a Thanksgiving dinner with my boyfriend, and it was our first Thanksgiving dinner, and we were having it alone, and we both got dressed up, and we had candles on the table, and we had made turkey and stuffing and cranberry sauce, and we had it all beautifully laid out, and he was at one end of the dining room table, and I was at the other, and we sat there, and we sat there, and we sat there, and finally I said, "Well, aren't you going to carve the turkey?" And he said, "Why would I carve the turkey?" And I said, "In my family, my father always carved the turkey." And he said, "Well, I was waiting for you, because in my family, my mother always carved the turkey." And we had both been sitting there for like 5 minutes or so, waiting for someone else to carve the turkey. And it's a very little thing that was leaving us both hungry, but it actually happens all over the place in relationships, where it's very unconscious. Of course, men do this, or of course women do this, or of course the older person does this, or of course the younger person does this, or whatever. Or the person who started the relationship, whoever we think that is supposed to do X. So absolutely, that no expectations. I think, Mia, that's going to be the beginning of a very rich conversation. And I find that the best way to have these conversations is out of kind of loving curiosity. I actually have this with my partner quite a bit, where the dictionary of Tim and the dictionary of Francesca were clearly written in two different parts of the world, even though we were both raised in the United States. And he will say a phrase, and I will actually start to get upset by that phrase. And then I will catch myself, and I'll say, "Tim, honey, what is that thing that you just said? What does that mean to you?" And he'll explain in the worldview of Tim what that means. And then I'll realize that there's nothing to be upset about, that in his worldview that was supposed to be a compliment, or that was supposed to be a polite request, or whatever. And in the rule book, the secret rule book, or the worldview of Francesca, it had a very different meaning. So that innocent conversation, the one that says, what does that mean to you? And assuming best intent, that someone who loves us is not an intimate enemy. They are not out to hurt us. If they make a mistake, it's an honest mistake. Shall we go back to one of the other questions, Dawn?
Sure. I think we have time to go back to another question if you want to. And then I think we're getting close to being ready to wrap up.
All right. I think Fish talked about having a primary partner in an open poly relationship that fears, one partner fears the other dating, and one partner fears being abandoned. And then it sounded like Fish was saying that because that fear is present, that even when she might say, he or she might say, "It's okay, go out, you can go out," that Fish is left feeling sort of unsafe to truly try to pursue anyone else as one of the issues that can come up.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm just breathing that in very tenderly because I think I'm that person. Okay, as I laugh tenderly towards myself here, is sometimes, not always, but sometimes I am the person who fears being abandoned, and sometimes, I've also been the person who feels constrained. But I would say more often I've been the person who fears being abandoned, and who might even be saying, "Oh yeah, go out, it's okay," but my energy is very scared. And then if my partner's out, maybe I'm texting and, when are you coming home? Do you still love me? I'm asking basically for reassurance. And it can, leave my partner feeling unsafe in pursuing relationships. So as I breathe into that, and this is something that I've been shifting lately, so I'm going to look at how I'm shifting and what my partner can or cannot do to support that shift. And I think, we cannot save, fix, change, or heal another person, but we can collaborate with the people in our lives. And no one is perfect. No partner is going to just be completely whole and healthy and with no issues. So when we have a partner, we get to ask ourselves, do I really have compassion for their suffering? Am I willing to collaborate with them in, not save them, but collaborate with them? And are they able and willing to collaborate with me? And, what is my timeline? I've had partners that I felt very spacious with. There was something that they were working on healing. Maybe it was their insecurity. Maybe it was their dominating, nature. And that they were working on shifting it. They wanted to shift it, but the shift was happening slowly. And some of them I've been very spacious, like I'm going to be with this person for a long time. It's okay if it's taking a while. And some people I've been very impatient with, like I really needed them to change right away or I was going to end the relationship. And I'm not right or wrong. If I'm patient, I'm patient. If I'm not patient, I'm not patient. Ultimately, I will get to have my own limits and boundaries in working with another person's weak or underdeveloped areas. So if I'm in the fish position where my partner has something that feels very restrictive to me, I want to make sure that I'm being as nurturing as possible, as collaborative. I want to be sure that I'm, within reason, following. If I say I'm going to be home at 3, I'm home at 3. If I say I'm going to, touch base twice across the evening, touch base twice. I want to be in integrity with what I promise. And I also want to encourage my partner to be more and more self-sufficient. And I may need to set boundaries or timelines and say, if this doesn't change by this time, or, I may need to leave, and that's not against you. It's actually for me. But I think that and I can have measures, like I might say, it would be important for me that you're getting therapy on this, or you're getting other support on this. I can also put that in. If I'm and then, I get to decide, am I seeing growth? Am I willing to work with this in the time period that it's taking to change? If I'm in the partner position, the one where I'm the one fearing abandonment or being left out, then I need to look at my own fear, my own emotional wounding. I get to look at where that's coming from. I get to get therapy. And I get to look, is there something that my partner's doing that's actually exacerbating things, i.e. making them worse? My partner says they'll be home by 3 and then they're not home until 6. My partner says that they'll touch base once or twice while they're gone and then they turn off the phone. But there could be things that they're doing that actually are kind of putting fuel on the fire and having it be more challenging for me to feel centered. Is it still my job to feel centered? Yes, it's still my job. And someone can be helpful or harmful around how they interact with me. I find personally, and I hate to say this and I hate to admit it, that sometimes having a little bit of a deadline or a timeline can actually, get me going. That sometimes I'm a little lazy. And if things seem to be going okay, that maybe, my partner and I are both uncomfortable in the relationship, but I can deal with it.
Right.
And then
It's
if my
sort of
partner
a comfortable uncomfortableness.
right, and then if my partner says, no, really, Francesca, if you don't get, work on your own heart and spirit to be more supportive and less fearful around when I'm, going out, I probably can only work with this. You'd like to give someone some heads up, like 6 more months, or I can only deal with this another year, or whatever. And then that inspires me. It's like, ooh, I better really work on this. And the last shift that happened for me that allowed me to be much more supportive of my partner actually came out of something that I wasn't telling him. And I wasn't telling him in a way that he could hear, that there had been a break in our sexual connection early in the relationship. And based on that break in our sexual connection, I had felt, in a way, like not attractive enough, not desirable enough, and that was really, really feeding into my fear of his being with other women. And just recently I was able to reveal this in a very tender way, not a shaming, blaming way, but just very, very tender, and invite his collaboration in healing that. And we were able to come to a place of me really being able to let in that he loves me and desires me. And it's interesting, like since that moment, since that evening where we did that work, I feel a lot more comfortable. It's like, oh, okay, we have a solid connection. So there's a number of places to look at too with your partner. Where does where's the fear arising from? And there may be something that could be done or said, or maybe even something she needs to excavate down to that will actually be able to be healed. So I hope those are a couple different directions to work with. One is your boundaries, basically, and the other is supporting her to do her work, but you can't do it for her.
And I'm going to suggest that you may have already listened to these, but if you haven't, you may want to go listen, or you may want to review them. There are some great teleseminars that I did last fall with Kathy Labriola, and they are available on my website, www.loveoutsidethebox.com. And if you go to the free stuff tab, you can find the recordings up there from last fall's jealousy workshops that we did, the teleseminars we did on jealousy last fall. And there's just some great tools for both the jealous partner and the non-jealous partner, mostly for the jealous partner, but for both of them on those. So that actually, I think, brings us to the part that you may have been waiting for. Woohoo! Everybody's been waiting for this. And that is the reminder you do want to join us for the in-person workshop on April 26th. That as a thank you for listening to this call, you can go to get the deepest discounts that we are offering are available on the wildershores.com website, wildershores.com, and you have to go to a secret page. And what you will want to do is you want to type in wildershores.com/discounts.html. wildershores.com/discounts.html. And that will get you the best prices that we have available at this time. So we would love for you to take advantage of that if you are in the San Francisco Bay Area and interested in joining us on the 26th. And if not, there are other ways that you can stay in touch with both of us. For myself, you can sign up for my newsletter, which is also on my www.loveoutsidethebox.com website. There's a little sign-up box, or you can go sign up for one of the free the free reports that I have under that free stuff tab, and that'll sign you up for my newsletter at the same time. Francesca, do you have suggestions for how to keep in touch with you or how to get on any of your lists?
I do, and somebody had a question about what are the ticket prices for the course as well. And maybe you'll get to that in a second.
Sure.
You can, if you Google Francesca Gentille with 2 L's, so like Gentile with 2 L's, you will see probably a number of my websites. francescagentile.weebly.com is my main one for coaching and for counseling and for some of my workshops. And I'd love to be in touch and also offer you a free session. Yes, I would. And
how can they sign up for that free session, Francesca? Do they call you, drop you an email? What do you do?
Email is best. Relationshipdiva, DIVA, @gmail.com. That's relationshipdiva@gmail.com.
So for me, if you want to get that free 30-minute consultation, you can send me an email at loveotb@gmail.com. That's love outside the box @gmail.com. Or you can go to my website again and get under the Services tab and then click on Get Coaching. And there's a thing I just installed, and hopefully it'll work, that allows you to click on it. If you click on the more details, it'll take you to a page where you can contact me about getting a free 30-minute consultation. In response to the question of how much the workshop is at this time, for you, only for you who are on this call, right now it is $59 for a single person to sign up, or it is $49 per person for 2 or more people signing up together. And that is the special discount that is available right now just for you guys. For other people who have not tuned into this call, right now the cost is, I believe it is $79 for a single person and $69 for 2 people signing up together. I'm not actually quite sure, and I'm not looking at it at the moment. But eventually, I believe it goes up. I think it's $89, $79. No, it's $79. Yes, it's $89 for one person eventually, and $79 for 2 people together, and $69 for 3 or more people signing up together. That's the eventual cost if you wait all the way to sign up at the door, for instance. So right now there's something in between that for everybody not on this call, and for you guys on this call, there's the special deep discount of $59 for one person and $49 per person for 2 or more. Francesca also mentioned my Kissable Agreements workbook, and if you are on this call and you want to get that free ebook, please drop me an email, mention that you were on this call, and I will send it to you. And otherwise, if you want to introduce somebody else to that workbook, it is only $10 via PayPal. And you can go get that, again, on my website under the Kissable Agreements tab. So thank you, everybody. I want to thank you all for being here on the call with us tonight. It has been such a pleasure to speak with you about the Wilder Shores of Love, about the afternoon delights on the Wilder Shores of Love that we'll be doing in a couple of weeks on April 26th, and just about the general topic, how do we conduct our relationships on the Wilder Shores of Love when our relationships are perhaps outside the box or different or unusual, or we're different or unusual in some way. And how do we create our own relationship? That, by the way, is one of the things we'll be talking about in greater detail On the day that we have the workshop, we'll be talking more about creative relationship design. What is that, and how do we do it? How do we make these choices? So right now, I just want to give you guys a chance to center again. We're going to do a little brief closing here. So just get yourself kind of comfortable and allow yourself to tune in again to your breath. We've gotten a lot of information into our heads mostly tonight. So if you just breathe deeply into your body and allow that breath to go all the way down into your belly, allow your jaw to be soft, allow your belly to be soft, allow yourself to receive all of this information. It's all coming in, and it's going to be in the mix for a while, and you'll be processing it in your body and in your mind and in your emotions. Just be with that as you breathe in and allow that information to settle where it needs to. Take what you need. Discard anything that doesn't work for you. There is no one true right and only way. And right now, Francesca and I offer to you our blessing as you go out into the world. Create your own special relationships on the wilder shores of love. Thank you so much. Francesca, would you like